Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. An interesting revelation from Virgil Ortiz's manager, Rick Mirigian, who responded to Jermell Charlo's recent tweet. The one we talked about the other day where Jermell said, "Boxing is not a team sport, so the next move is always the best move. I don't know what the fuck they're fussing about, but I've always heard you're doing something right when the other teams start to feud. 154 is the most overlooked division. I'll fix that problem. Send me a contract, Oscar De La Hoya or Eddie Hearn." Presumably for either Virgil Ortiz or Boots Ennis. To which Virgil's manager responded, "Charlo turned down Ortiz twice also. And Charlo, I can send you the contract. Send me the address." Twice, huh? Not the flex that Rick Mirigian thinks it is, because what that's essentially saying is, you've tried to make a fight with Keith Thurman, you've tried to make a fight 2 times with Jermell Charlo, and you're still holding out hope that you can land a fight with a quasi-retired Errol Spence Jr. Doesn't sound like a team to me that was prioritizing a Boots fight. What did I tell you guys before? That there's blame to be assigned on both sides. It's not just Oscar, it's Rick Mirigian and Virgil Ortiz too, because while all of this is going on, Virgil is going along with it. When if what you really wanted was a Boots fight, you put your foot down and you demand the Boots fight. The only thing Virgil demanded was $7 million guaranteed, which is way too much for a fight like that. You essentially priced yourself out, all while pursuing fights with all of these aged and quasi-retired fighters like Keith Thurman and Errol Spence and Jermell Charlo 2 times. That guy hasn't fought in 3 years, and he hasn't made junior middle in close to 4. So in the spirit of fairness and objectivity, I will say about Virgil versus Charlo what I said about Boots versus Charlo. First things first, for this fight to have any value, you have to get Jermell at least 1 or 2 tune-up fights to build him back up, so that he can show people that he's still got it. Without that, all he is a guy who ain't fought in 3 years, coming off a loss to Canelo. You can't sell that. Our last memory of Jermell is him running from one end of the ring to the other to get away from Canelo. He still hasn't put distance between himself and that performance. So the first order of business would have to be getting him 1 or 2 tune-up fights. Golden Boy would have had to do that first. Then you can package that Ortiz fight and sell it in Texas, where they're both from. Then it's actually worth something. But given where Golden Boy Promotions is right now, and that Virgil may be on his way out, you're a day late and $1 short, buddy. I retain a healthy level of skepticism as to how serious Jermell Charlo is about these fights and about coming back when he's had ample time to do it. Close to 3 years. To get either Eddie or Oscar or Rick on the horn and start building these fights. You've had ample time to do that, to have a tune-up, to rebuild yourself. It's only taken this long because you want it to take this long. It doesn't have to. After Joseph Parker was stopped by Joe Joyce, it did not take Joseph a year and a day to come back in a tune-up fight. He came right back in a series of smaller fights to rebuild himself for the big ones. Jermell could have did the same thing. So I don't know that all this from Jermell isn't just him hitting the bottle, then talking shit into his phone. Because that's what it could be. He's been talking about coming back for over a year now, but he's got yet to do it. Right. Separately, though, the separate observation that it seems Team Ortiz were exploring a lot of different options, a lot of different guys, at the same time they were supposed to be making the fight with Boots. To the point that you couldn't have been serious about fighting Boots if you were also looking to fight all these other people. There is blame to be assigned to Oscar, but I feel like there's also blame to be assigned to Rick Mirigian and Virgil Ortiz, because if what you really wanted was Boots, that's the guy that's actually right there on the same platform as you. He's free, and so were you. Oscar might have did his part to bungle this up, but so did you, asking for more money than you're worth. All of which is much ado about nothing anyway, because I never thought this would be the next fight for either Virgil or Boots. So, here we are. Elsewhere in the junior middleweight division, unknown champion Abbas Baraou is ready to break through versus Xander Zayas. Abbas Barou's name didn't ring a bell until he shelled Yoenis Tellez for the interim WBA junior middleweight title in August. A month later, once Terence Crawford stepped up to super middle, Baraou was elevated to full champion and emerged as a power player in boxing's most stacked division. Suddenly, it's sink or swim time for Baraou when he heads into the Island of Enchantment later on this month to engage against WBO champion Xander Zayas in San Juan, Puerto Rico for a title unification match. A fantastic fight that is happening in the background of the other fight that's happening that same day between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, which is getting considerable more promotion. The only promotion Baraou versus Zayas is getting is the occasional post from Top Rank's social media accounts while they're still between broadcasters. Becoming a champion has made me hungrier, Baraou said after a recent training session in Miami. It hasn't changed my personal life. I'm still focused on boxing, but seeing all the opportunities and the fights that can be made is amazing. It's made me more focused and hungrier. I haven't shown what I'm capable of yet. I have a lot of experience from my amateur days. I know how to adapt. If I have to fight more technically, I can. I know how to box. However, most of the time, I break down fighters. I can do that best. But it also depends on the situation. I can also show more skills. What's he gonna show against Xander? Likely the same thing he showed Ioannis Tellez. Pressure and volume. Aggression. The little-known Baraou, 31, was born and raised in Berlin. He cut his teeth across Germany after turning pro in 2018 and graduated to fight several times in the UK, crossing the Atlantic Ocean to take on Tellez in the United States. As the B-side in his career best win, Baraou took on Tellez on a show backed by his opponent's promoter and went on to knock down the Cuban in the 12th to seal the deal with scores of 117-110, 116-111, and 115-112. The busier Baraou landed 214 of 745 punches, compared with 205 of 674 from Tellez in the back-and-forth bout. Coming forward is something I do well, said Baraou. Many fighters have issues with pressure. I haven't seen a fighter who can stand a chance with mine yet. So, I know I can bring a lot of pressure in this fight, but we'll see. That might be the key in this fight. We'll see on Fight Night. Baraou, the ring's number 8 fighter at 154, and Zayas, rated number 5, are no strangers, as they have sparred in recent years. Xander is very talented. He has a lot of skills, said Baraou. I've shared the ring with him many times. We've sparred, so I know he has good footwork and lots of skills. The experience from those sparring sessions is something that they both can draw from. It's not one way, but as far as how those sparring sessions went, well, you can tell that Xander must have got the better of those sparring sessions because he was in a hurry to challenge Baraou. He was there the night of the Tellez fight. He knew that the winner of that fight is in line to become full WBA champion, and he wanted to make sure to secure a fight with the winner being a boss Baraou. What that communicates is confidence. Confidence on the part of Xander Zayas, who must have very much liked his chances against the boss based on their sparring sessions. But you know, a boss is confident too. He likes his chances. He says, I will always be myself in the ring. Whose lone loss came against Jack Colquet quite controversially in 2020. Even if the fight were in Germany, I'd have the same mindset. I don't care where the fight is. There's a man I have to beat to accomplish my goals. The fight is in Puerto Rico, but it doesn't add more pressure. With another solid showing against an equally unproven champion, Baraou, a plus 265 betting underdog, could be positioned to possibly pull off another shocker on enemy soil. I've put work in, and I'm ready to go to Puerto Rico and become a unified champion, Baraou said. We're a little under 2 weeks out from Fight Night, and we still don't have the broadcast information for this show. Most assume that it might happen on one of Top Rank's fast channels via Tubi, Roku, or Pluto. It's the only semblance of a broadcast deal that Top Rank has going for them right now. That's where they showed Michaela Mayer's last fight and Rafael Espinosa's last fight. Might be where they show this fight, but it would be a far cry from their arrangement with ESPN that ended last summer. And people are starting to get worried about the future of Top Rank. Now, as far as the fight itself, and Abbas Barou's plan of action, how is he likely to go about fighting the fight? And I think he's going to fight the Zayas fight the same way that he fought the Tellez fight.
He's going to apply pressure.
It's the funniest thing. The fight with Ioannis Tellez is a good rehearsal for the fight with Xander Zayas, and for Xander, the fight with Jorge Perez Garcia was a good rehearsal for the fight with Abbas Baraou. But these two guys are about as ready as they're gonna be, not just because of who they fought and how they fought in their last outings, but also because they've actually sparred each other a good number of times. They've had a look under the hood.
Vroom, vroom.
Xander Zayas has seen his fair share of pressure guys like Abbas Baraou before, in Jorge Perez Garcia, and some fights before that in former champion Patrick Teixeira, who is also a durable, gutting, and gritty pressure guy. Where Abbas Baraou is slightly different is he's a noticeably shorter, stumpier fighter than either Jorge Garcia or Patrick Teixeira. Makes for a smaller target, but he's going to apply pressure. Because that's what he does best, he acknowledges that himself, and that's his best bet to win. You're not winning a chess match with Xander Zayas. Your best bet is to try to wear him down like you wore down Ioannis Tellez. Is that going to work? I don't think so.
No.
Like I said, Xander has seen that style before, more intimately with Abbas Baraou in their many sparring sessions. He knows exactly who he's fighting. Now, because Xander, as skilled as he is, he's not big on power, so I don't see him putting a dent in Abbas Baraou. I don't see him slowing Abbas down. What he can do is work around him, beat those feet, use his height and length and combinations to do the business and get out of dodge as best as he can. I think that he's going to. I think he wins a points decision. There is room for some thrills and spills because both fighters,
Both of them,
are familiar with each other. But gun to my head, I trust Xander to win in his native Puerto Rico more than I trust the Abbas Baraou. So I'm going with Xander. In men's heavyweight news, a startling story. Team Usyk dismiss IVB and Wilder talk. Sources close to Team Usyk say there is no contract or agreement in place for a potential IVB-backed fight with Deontay Wilder on July 11th in San Francisco. While initial conversations took place, insiders stress talks never progressed and suggest Usyk's name is now being used for promotional purposes. As it stands, any Usyk versus Wilder narrative remains speculation, not a confirmed fight. Veteran boxing scribe Dan Rafael said Wilder's manager Shelly Finkel told me Thursday night that there has been no discussion of doing Usyk versus Wilder with Ed Pereira, none, and that he doesn't know that guy at all. It's important to know what the made-up part is. It's not made up that Usyk and Wilder have already had a dialogue and they're keen on fighting each other. What's made up is Ed Pereira's involvement. IVB, iView Boxing, who we only found out about a few days ago due to their reported involvement with this fight. The story was the project, set to be announced on last Friday, would form part of an iconic series, more than a dozen events in 2026 launched by promotional upstart iVisit Boxing. The fight card is set to be finalized in the coming months, but IVB has been linked with Alexander Usyk, and IVB chief Ed Pereira did not rule out a move for the heavyweight champion. The July 11th event, which would be streamed on YouTube, is stated to include a music festival and fan village. It forms part of a wider mission to bring boxing back to the people. YouTube is spearheading ambitious plans for a boxing show in San Francisco that would set a new world record crowd of nearly 150,000 fans. Organizers told the Daily Mail. Ed Pereira, the supposed mastermind behind all of this, was reported to have done business with Sela and Turki Al Sheikh. He was the one planning on launching a global boxing promotion with plans for 12 major events this year. The announcement was supposed to be this past Friday, but you saw that nothing was announced, and initially I thought it was because there was so much going on. The announcement of Canelo Alvarez's ring return, the legal stuff between Virgil and Golden Boy. Initially I thought maybe they held off on making that big announcement because there was so much going on Friday. Maybe they'll make it on Monday after the weekend. Then all this stuff comes out. That neither Team Wilder or Team Usyk have had any formal communication with either Ed Pereira or IVB, which begs the question, if IVB are not the ones putting these two guys in the ring with each other, who is? Who's supposed to be paying for this? Because if nothing else, we know they've been talking to each other, and we know they're both keen on fighting each other, but who's gonna pay for it? Which allows me to go back to my original assertion. I think it's Zuffa. If anybody has the resources to put together a fight like that, it's gotta be them, because we know it's not the PBC. They don't have the money. Neither does Top Rank, and certainly not Golden Boy. It doesn't look to be Matchroom, and they already said themselves. Aegis Climax. On behalf of Team Usyk said, it's not Riyadh season. They might still work with them in the future, but as far as this fight, they're not the ones behind it. So who else out there would have the means and the money to put a fight like this together? Because Wilder's not going to fight Usyk for peanuts on the dollar, and the same is true in reverse. By now, Usyk would have gotten used to sizable purses that in the twilight years of his career, that's what he's looking for. Big money. And who's got big money? Besides Riyadh season, Zuffa Boxing, backed by both Sella, the WWE, and the UFC. And Paramount Plus. The next question, why would Zuffa want to put this fight together? For the same reason they just signed Jai Opataya. Familiarity. Familiarity is important in the sport of boxing, and I vaguely recall them saying they planned on doing 4 to 5 super fights, mega events in the calendar year. Maybe this is what they were talking about, that if this IVB boxing thing ain't real, maybe it's Zuffa. I stress familiarity because Zuffa Boxing is a fledgling promotion that boxing fans are not familiar with. Zuffa has to work hard to get them familiar with their brand, and a part of doing that could be recruiting familiar faces to do fights under their banner, like they just did with Jai Opataya. They're even more familiar with Deontay Wilder, even more familiar with Xander Usyk. These are established names in the sport of boxing. If I had to guess, maybe it's them. Then why haven't they announced it yet? Because the fight isn't made yet. They may still be ironing out the details. They may still be working on it. You're not going to announce a fight before it's made any sooner than you would announce dinner being served when it's still in the oven. Don't get too attached to anything you hear. News is fluid in the sport of boxing and ever-changing. We'll find out, one way or another, who's putting this fight together and who isn't. The answers will come shortly